All right, y'all. It is the weekend you've been waiting for, that we've been waiting for, Skyway 2023. If you are like me, you have been refreshing your weather app every 30 minutes for the past week or so. So, yes, of course, we have been watching the weather, working with our event meteorologist, Kent, with AMB Weather. Kent sends us daily forecasts every day of the race week, so we've been getting updates every single morning with our coffee and talking with the Cogs folks and Billy at Lake Howard and consulting with Kent. We have made the decision to go on Saturday with a 2 hour weather delay. So that 2 hours will allow that system, that really narrow band system, to push through the Talladega area and give us actually like an absolutely beautiful day on Saturday. Just dropping a little bit of rain in the early morning hours, but it should be moved out by 8:30 or 9 o'clock. So we're going to give it a 2 hour weather delay. So that means that the hundreds will start at 9 and the 60-ish race will start at 10 a.m. All right, so here is the rundown for the weekend, and this is your race briefing. So whenever we line up at the start around 8:50 or so for the hundreds and 9:50 for the 60s, I'm just going to say a short couple of words. Any updates on course conditions changes or anything like that. So make sure you are obviously watching this video right now. Make sure you tell your friends. It is beautiful out here today on 601. The roads are in wonderful shape, as you can see behind me. But we are going to have the potluck and camping on Friday night. So if you are planning on coming down tomorrow on Friday, we are still a full go for that. Sign up for the potluck in the link in the email below. Make sure that bring something different than everybody else, right? Like we don't want to end up with 50 pounds of potato salad. We do have an option, so if you're not really looking forward to camping in a tent, as it gets a little wet and wild early on Saturday morning, we do have an option for you to camp indoors over at Stephen Peters' place, about a mile and a half down the road. Those details are down in the email as well. He has a huge metal building that they're building out as a biker, hiker, hostel retreat kind of an area. They're in the middle of the build out, but there's a lot of indoor covered space if you do want to tent camp inside versus outside. That's where all of our like large campers and coaches and things like that, folks that are coming down, they're camping over there at the Oldfield Gable. So details below on that. Waiver. So we have switched to 100% digital waivers, which makes it easy for us. It makes it easy for you. The only people that need to bring a paper waiver are juniors. So juniors wet sign, and then have your parent or guardian wet sign that as well, and bring us that piece of paper. That's a requirement from our insurer. Everyone else though, DocuSign, like sign that waiver if you're racing on Saturday. If you're not planning on showing up, please do not sign that waiver. It gives us a good indication of who's coming and who is not. Follow the rule of the roads. A vast majority of the race is in the Talladega National Forest. It is your land. It is my land. So take care of it like it is your own backyard. Unless you have a really crummy backyard, then try to take care of it like it's my backyard. Just don't leave a trace. Like don't leave goo packets or any garbage laying around. There'll be plenty of spots at the aid stations for you to dispose of those kind of things. Stephanie and Tony are feeding us again at Skyway this year. They were with us last year at Skyway. They have been making coming out for bringing us food for the past couple of years for our Gravel Cup series. So we're really stoked that they're coming. On the menu is pulled pork sandwiches, fajitas, cauliflower tacos for vegans and vegetarians, and lots of sides. So that food will be ready in the afternoon as you guys are finishing up. Um, Kyle and Good People are bringing the beer again this year, so we can always count on them to have ice cold beer at the finish for us. So if you see Kyle, definitely give him a high five. There are plenty of bathrooms at Lake Howard. There's the two men's and women's permanent bathrooms, and then there will be 4 porta potties at Lake Howard. We'll also have a porta potty for the hundreds at the top of Cheehaw. So we think that'll be a good number of bathrooms for folks to get through in the morning, particularly with the later start. Um, One big thing, I know we have a lot of Skyway veterans riding with us this weekend, but also a lot of new riders. Just one thing, Skyway is hard. So as my friend Heidi Rentz out in Patagonia, Arizona says, this is not the Cupcake 100. Skyway is a very difficult race. It's done on all kinds of bikes. So there's a good mix of single track, gravel roads, and then of course like the Jeep roads that are the Skyway motorway. So 601, and then for the 100 milers, they'll ride 602 as well. 602 in particular, 601 and 602 in particular are really, really rugged Jeep roads. A lot of the pictures that you've seen with huge potholes and, ruts, big, water pools and things like that up there that the Jeep clubs like to run through. Definitely be careful on Skyway, particularly on the descents. You can get going really, really fast. So just use those brakes. Be cautious. If there is something like over an obstacle that you can't see, assume that there is something dangerous behind there, and just navigate that around that appropriately. There will likely be Jeeps out there on 601 all day long, and those Jeepers, they're the ones that actually take care of and maintain that road. There will be some places that you'll be like, man, they're really not taking too great care of it. But like any deadfall, anything like that comes down on that road, it's the Jeep clubs that maintain that. So say hi to them. Sometimes there might be some tight passing, but just be cautious of Jeeps out there, and be courteous of those folks. They're out there enjoying the wilderness and nature just like we are. So number one, use caution. Take care of one another out there. Like if you see a rider that needs help, stop and help them. Sag, there is no sag for this ride, as there never has been sag for this ride, because of the remoteness of it, and the challenges of getting into some of those difficult spots on Skyway. So if you have a mechanical, if you have a problem and you need to be extracted, you need to get to somewhere that we can extract you. So back down to Bulls Gap. Back down to one of the aid stations, Adams Gap, like one of those road sections, so that we can come and grab you. And then with the weather delay, it's going to be a long day. We're going to be spending a lot of time together. We're going to be out there all day, all night on Saturday, cheering people in. Last year it was so awesome to have a good crew that was camping out again on Saturday night to cheer riders in as they were coming in into the night. So with podiums, just be patient. We will get podiums going as they fill. One of my favorite things about this race is the venue. So they're at Lake Howard, that Billy Bean maintains, the trails that the Cogs crew have built and maintained over the years. There's 3 really nice pavilions up near the trailhead, and we'll use that pavilion on the left for rider check-in and timing in the afternoon. The middle pavilion will be for podiums, and then the far right pavilion will be reserved for Tony and Stephanie to cook and serve food. So everything's all right there. So it makes it really easy to do race timing and podiums and food and all that kind of fun stuff, like all in one place, and see riders coming in and finishing through the afternoon and into the evening. I think that's about it on that. So the course is exactly the same as it has been the past 2 years. So of course, starting at Lake Howard, single track for about 12 miles, about 9 or 10 miles of gravel before you head up to 601. Obviously, the 60s will get to their turnaround spot and come back down just the way they came. The hundreds will continue and come off of 601, climb up 602, transition to pavement at Adams Gap, and then all the way up to Cheehaw State Park. So that is sort of the rundown of the route. Should be in really, really good shape. The rain that's going to fall, I imagine that on the way out it's going to be a little wet, but on the way back in with the wind and the sun coming out, it'll almost be a completely different course on the return as it was going out. There are 4 aid stations on course this year. In previous years, we've had 3. We're adding an additional water-only aid station by popular demand at mile 12. So that's like right when you get off of single track and you're transitioning into that gravel section before, on your way up to Bulls Gap. The Sylacauga Kiwanis Club will be there. It's at sort of like a dead end, like roundabout for water only. They will only be there from noon until 6. And the reason for that is it's going to be in the 70s. It's going to be warm. People are going to be going through some water. And in that warmer part of the day, we wanted to make sure that, that there's plenty of water on course. So noon to 6 o'clock, Kiwanis will be at that 12-mile aid station. Of course, you'll hit that again on the way back in if you hit it before 6 o'clock. The traditional Bulls Gap aid station at the Pinhoti Trailhead, as you're coming up the gravel and then heading up 601, the one and only Dale Boyd, king of the South Alabama Turndown, master of all things samba. He is going to have a crew out there. There's some folks coming over from Birmingham from Bump, and it's going to be the most fun aid station that you've ever seen. I have no doubt that those guys have some tricks and some shenanigans up their sleeves. But once again, it's a water-only aid station, plus they might have a little extra, but only count on getting water at that Bulls Gap aid station. But thank you to Dale, the Sweet Potato Mountain Bike Crew, Samba Bump, for coming out and supporting that. They have all ridden this race before, so they kind of know what you're in for. And then Petey and Shauna are heading up the 33-mile aid station, so that'll be the 60-mile turnaround. That will be a fully stocked aid station, so they'll have water, nutrition, drop bags. So if you leave a drop bag, it'll be waiting for you there. One thing that's really, really important with that turnaround for 60 milers is that you stop and get a token. So a little wooden nickel proves that you got to the turnaround, that you didn't turn around early or anything like that. And it allows those folks that are working that aid station to check you off the list, right? To account for you coming through there, just so that we kind of can keep track of who's on the course and where. 100 milers, you guys do not need to get a token at the 60-mile turnaround. You'll get one at the top of Cheehaw, where Chad Joyner, Nick Butler, and a few other folks will be. So 60 milers, get a token at your turnaround, and 100 milers, you only need to get your token at the 100-mile turnaround. 100 turnaround, 4th aid station is around mile 54, across from Cheehaw State Park. So there is a ranger station and a maintenance building on the other side of the highway from Cheehaw. You'll take a right-hand turn into that. Should be really, really obvious with those guys there supporting you. They'll have water, drop bags, and some light nutrition for you there. There will be a porta potty there, so if you need to take care of some business, you can do that at the top of Cheehaw. You can also, on your own, if you want to, you could go over to Cheehaw State Park, and they have a camp store and bathrooms and all of that kind of good stuff. But that is on you. The Cheehaw cutoff is at 2 p.m., so that should give you plenty of time for you 100-milers to get up to the top of Cheehaw and get turned around. It's highly recommended, just given how far away Cheehaw is from Lake Howard, it's highly recommended that if you got any doubts, have your own support system to come and bail you out or come get you if you have time restrictions or commitments or anything like that. It is a 100-mile round trip on the road to get from Lake Howard to Cheehaw. So if you have any doubts, I would highly recommend having your own support system. If not, you may be sitting there waiting for quite a while, drinking a couple of beers with Chad and Nick, waiting for either them to wrap up the aid station in the afternoon, or for Billy or somebody else who's like shuttling supplies back and forth to drag you off of the mountain. Another important thing for the 100-milers, we made a post about it on Facebook earlier this week. But whenever you do cross the bridge and head up on Skyway 2 on 602, there is a gate. So there is a guy that owns some cabins up there that put a gate across 602. I talked to him a couple of weeks ago. He's super cool. He's happy to have us up there. There is a ride around, like a pedestrian bike, like ride around on the right hand side of the gate. So just wiggle through that and make your way up 602. My biggest ask is, do not, treat it with the utmost respect. So we are getting access and permission to pass through there. And if we leave trash, if we're, taking a leak on the side of the road where he might have cabin guests come in and out, we may get asked to not come back and have to find some crazy alternative to get around there. So please just treat that area with the utmost respect. Leave no trace. The last thing I'll note, and this happened last year. I think a couple of people, even with the earlier, traditional start, there were some people that underestimated how long they might be out there and that it might get dark on them. So it is highly recommended for the hundreds to have lighting on their bikes or in their drop bags or something like that. And I would even say that for 60 milers that might be mid packers, like myself, or further back, like absolutely have lights on your bike. I remember at least 3 or 4 people last year that came down that little Finnish switchback back into Lake Howard, trying to use their phone as a flashlight, so that they could make it through the final miles of single track. So highly recommended for you to have lights on your bike. And I think that's about it. One more shout out, Rolando Roman, our friend here in Jackson. He is a cyclist and event promoter, but he also makes amazing awards. So the awards this year will be similar to last year. They're just bamboo this year instead of oak. Nice bamboo plank with a nice chunk of Silicaga marble glued to the board. So if you did not know, Silicaga is the marble capital of the United States. Their white marble, like rivals, the marble in Italy. So definitely a cool fun fact. There's a marble festival in Silicaga every year where people from all over the world come and carve in their beautiful white marble. So that is it. We're super stoked. Biggest thing, 2-hour rain delay on Saturday morning. We're totally cooking out, potlucking, and camping on Friday night, and we look forward to seeing y'all there. Have a good one. See you soon.